What was the question?
Just about him being in costume directing.
Sorry, I'm terrible.
No worries.
You're getting there. He was fine. I mean, he was careful because he had to be extra nicer because the things he'd say would.
He was extra nice to you? I didn't get that side. Yeah, what's that all about?
You're growing up too fast. 10-year-olds shouldn't be celebrating war and talking politics.
Hey, Jojo, my old friend.
Hi, Adolf.
If I'm not mistaken, you wrote this back in like 2012, and you've directed 3 movies since then.
Yeah.
I'm curious if you feel like the director who made Boy and Eagle vs. Shark would have made a different version of this film than the person who from Thor Ragnarok and Unto the Will of the
Yeah, I really do feel like the film would be different if I'd made it when I wrote it. And I had to really remind myself that I don't think any of my films have been made as soon as I've finished writing them. So, I mean, maybe Eagle vs. Shark, I think that was like the year after I wrote it, but Boy, What We Do in the Shadows, Will the People, all of those were about at least 5 or 6 years between writing the film and shooting the film. And I feel like that's the amount of time that they needed.
Sure.
I think they're better films because of that, because they just sat there and percolated, and I evolved into a better filmmaker. And so, yeah, I mean, in a way, I'm really glad I waited for this.
And would you kind of go back to this project, go back to this script and kind of edit and do drafts as you were working on other stuff, or?
No, I didn't really have time. I only go back to my drafts of things if I feel like I'm actually going to make it.
Okay.
You know, so yeah, most of the time I wouldn't want to go. In my downtime, I don't like to go and read my scripts.
Yeah. It's not your version of fun.
Yeah.
You know, this film, it's really kind of impossible to give the log line of this movie because it sounds not great. But when you read the actual script, it was full of that very unique tone or flavor, that Taika brings, which is the ability to really mix the both absurd with the poignant, and it's so sensitive and so childlike, but then also like has this deep soul to it, like Taika himself. And you could tell just reading the script that it was going to work artistically.
Sure.
You never know if something's going to connect with an audience, but this film felt like something that was it was like a no-brainer that it would come together, with Taika at the helm.
I think the mood on set was kind of always appropriate to what the scene was, I guess. And we all knew throughout the entire shoot that we were dealing with a really tough subject matter and a real part of history. But we also were able to find the joy and the light despite that horrible time.
Heil Hitler. I wish more of our young boys had your blind fanaticism.
I know that there are always like multiple angles, there are multiple takes on every single scene. I'm curious, just was there a point where you were saying Heil Hitler so much that it basically just lost all meaning?
Yeah, I think perhaps there was. Yeah.
Yeah.
At some point they just become words that have no meaning. But I think every so often you would just, whether it was sort of catching a reflection in a mirror or seeing some particularly insidious piece of, Nazi insignia, that you're suddenly snapped back to the kind of reality of that. You know what I mean? It's never far away. But I don't think you can make a film constantly being conscious of that. You have to sort of give yourself over to the moment. And in that case, there's a lot of absurdity in it, and humor, despite the darkness underlying it.
When I think about it, Stephen, you really do switch on a dime, and you have. I think what's really menacing is your intelligence it comes through in the part, and I think he had scenes. There were moments where he was he was making me laugh so bad. It was hard to stay in character.
Well, I think you kind of, to go to those really dark places, you kind of have to make people feel comfortable somewhat, that they're not kind of walking into this kind of morbid situation, because then how are you going to get anywhere really? So yeah, I guess it would change. I guess you'd have to ask Taika if there was some kind of formula that he had, but yeah, it everything just felt kind of spontaneous. It was great.
Well, I think it's sort of strange because he's the only one with the big picture, really. So I think we're sort of, we're finding our way through each of the scenes, dialing up the humor or the tension as we're told. But I certainly had no sense of how it was all going to cut together in the end. I just thought, how is this going to work? And I was dazzled like everybody else when I saw the finished thing. I was like, how am I laughing and now I'm getting emotional and by the end I'm in tears? I don't quite know how he's done that juggling act. I'm genuinely, as someone who loves humor, has worked in comedy a long time and tried to go for emotion in movies and sometimes succeeded, I'm dazzled that he's pulled this off so well. I really am. I don't quite know how he did it.
Today you boys will be involved in such activities as war games, ambush techniques, and blowing stuff up.
I don't think I can do this.
Was? Of course you can.
I've had the chance to actually read the script, and I've noticed that a lot of the soundtrack choices, the songs that you used, were written directly in. I'm curious just kind of about your process of choosing songs, and also I did notice that not all of the songs that I read in that original script made it into the finished film. So
I can't remember. There was one. There was a Nick Cave one. Breathless. That was going to open
the opening
it.
scene. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Were there any others that
not that I remember, but I think there were a couple. But
I always. I, as much as possible, I try and write in the songs that I want. That I feel like, okay, this is going to be a good cinematic moment. This is what we want. That's something that I've always got in my mind. And I always have playlists with 30, 40 songs or something that I know won't all be in the movie, but they do inspire certain parts of my mind where I'll think of scenes or something that that I can picture to a song, and so it's just sort of nice for inspiration.
Sure. And was it easy to kind of track down the German versions of some of these songs? Or?
Yeah. I think the Beatles, the German version of the Beatles songs, that I think they've been on quite a lot of the compilation albums and stuff.
I actually want to ask something specific about Rosie, which is that she has this just wonderful kind of vaudevillian energy to her, and just especially with the way that she interacts with Jojo. And I'm curious if that was a direct reference for you, and kind of just actually, if not, what you were kind of referencing in your performance.
We talked a lot about what Rosie's life was before, because she's a very vivacious person, and really wanted her to feel like she was in the middle of her life when this war starts and these atrocities occur. She, it's like everyone there. We wanted her to feel like she had a purpose beyond this, and so we talked about how she was. I kind of imagined her as like sort of a Sally Bowles kind of character, that she was like into vaudeville and, as you said, and lived a really fancy life or interesting bohemian life in Paris, and she shares a little bit of that with Elsa, I think that actually brings a weight to the story, because you see that these characters are people outside of what's going on.
Absolutely.
She has a lot of light and life in her.
Yeah, they were just a group of people kind of thrown into this horrible, horrible environment and just trying to survive.
Your mother took me in. She's kind.
You two seem to be getting on well.
She doesn't seem like a bad person.
I'm not sure how much he actually did it, but was it weird when he was directing in costume?
Well, we were both wearing Nazi uniforms,
Sure.
so we both felt really embarrassed and stupid. So, and he was aware that he was in this really stupid costume.
Sure.
He was aware, so he was very careful in the way he directed, and he had to be extra nicer because the things he'd say would.
He was extra nice to you? I didn't get that side.
Extra treat.
Yeah, what's that all about?
Just kidding.
And actually, I just want to ask you specifically about the custom Nazi uniform, and just your first reaction to seeing it, and also just the experience wearing it.
It's cumbersome.
Yeah.
It's a lot of gear. Yeah, it takes a while to get it on. It takes a while to get it off. It's hot. Yeah.
One of the reasons that the Germans lost the war is because the uniform took a long time to get on, and they just could not react to a surprise attack.
True fact.
Her preparedness.
Yeah.
They'll never win. Love is the strongest thing in the world.